Hi, this is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to The
Krypton Report, the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report. I am your host, Man of Tomorrow, my name. And with me is my better, the man of Superman of James.
Hey, Tyler. Great to be back talking about Superman again.
Oh man,
you got something brand new to talk about.
Yeah, we just kind of horrible, and I want to say it's kind of like a horrible day. I don't want to get into it was on my grandfather passed away, and they passed away hard, a lot of stuff. But this trailer dropped that day, really cool, bright, happy, pumped up a little, feeling. So thank you. Great.
Thank you, Rao.
that pasta I love. But we are talking about her fuel trailer for Superman Lois now, and I gotta say, man, I think the trailer got everybody by surprise.
It was a surprise, the dropping, it coming out that day. I didn't see any announcement. I think that was coming.
Here's what I find. I was talking with a friend of mine. Quick side. Black Light is out, and we have yet for that. There's been no trailers, promos, nothing. Black Light. It's
Interesting.
right, and that, but for that,
yeah,
because it was a new season, but kind of like a new show at the same time, But this had a nice little slow build. I mean, here we are. So as of yesterday, 23rd, here a month today, the 4th, we're less way. We have the first show. I'm glad that they gave this, build up my interest out in 6 months. And I'm
right. Well, they were back a few years ago. They were releasing trailers year and a half out stuff, and then just to keep up interest or the fact that it's even coming out, they released so much in terms of TV spots, trailers, and stuff like that repeatedly, and they give away so much.
And
that's not TV, that's movies. Still,
first thing,
you only got to get people hyped when it's coming out.
It's okay.
People like us are going to know. General audience, they only need to get hyped when it's coming out.
So I want to say, so let's start. This is going to have a 9-minute, and it seems like that's just a pilot. It's not like the first 2 episodes together. It looks like the pilot, 9. And it feels like maybe the way it's like a TV movie. We talked. So remember when we talked about Lois and Clark, how the pilot shot it on film, money in it, in case they didn't put up have movie. But this was ordered to see, and this I looked up the director. He's done some more higher end type stuff. He's done a couple of features nothing like he did the most famous Age of Adeline film. Done like a couple Riverdale. Did a movie called Celeste, Yes Forever, drama comedy. Andy Samberg. And then the director of photography, Gavin Brothers. He's done The Witcher, Black Sails, Marco Polo, Vinci Demons, so more like high cinematic television.
Excellent.
You know, so I mean, it doesn't feel like they're just generic, like, no offense, but like, stuff like,
Yeah, guys whose job it is to get an episode together, shoot it in 10 days, have it ready to go in like, what is it, 12, 13? What's the turnaround?
Yeah,
like shooting is supposed to take like 8 to 10 days max or something.
And there's nothing
for an
wrong
episode.
With that. Like, I don't think like, you know, like we've seen like, oh man, it's leaving me right now, but like the guy who directed Pilot for Girl, you know, had direct other CW properties, direct Smallville.
Yeah, was that Glenn
Yes,
Winter?
Yes, yes, it was.
There's a couple of names there. I think Glenn Winter was one.
And I always joke like Glenn Winter is both directed two different Supermen. The other one,
Yeah.
got the Smallville pilot. David Nutter also directed. Wait, there may be directed stuff most part have said it all. But just saying that, I mean, visually, looking at this trailer, it looked very Man of Steel. Like the saturation color, the house, farm, looked like it looked small.
Yeah, it definitely is very cinematic looking. It does look a little muted, you know, not too much. I mean, it's like just looking at the opening shot here of the trailer. I got it paused on my screen. It's the shot. It's across wheat field, or this has been a plowed cornfield, and you know, so it's a brown field, just like the strip of grass out the field, and then brown on the other side, and it's cloudy, and the sun is going down behind the clouds and the horizon. So you just got the sun peeking through the clouds at different spots.
But yeah, I mean, and like, so let's talk a little timeline for Seth. We know this is post-Christ. We know that he proposed to Lois after El. I don't think they were married. I think were they married? I have to go back and rewatch Christ. So
I think by then they probably were married because they had John. So I think
John's
between Elseworld and Crisis, she was pregnant in Elseworlds, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he saved her, he rescued her. She was pregnant in Elseworlds.
Was she pregnant or was Bitsy pregnant? No, I'm pretty sure it was actually Bitsy that was pregnant during what it was. And then after Elseworlds, that's when they went to stay with on Art. I'll have to revisit it. It's been a while. I've watched all of, but I'm wondering.
I haven't rewatched Elseworlds in about a year.
And I'm wondering, you know, like if maybe we'll have some sort of montage type wedding stuff like that. See the wedding, you know, and you know, we know that at the end of Christ, like Christ has started, he had a baby. And at the end of Christ, they pulled a Bendis. They aged up the child like a twin son. And I feel like that's a common CW thing where taking one character, split the character.
Yeah.
Because I feel like just looking like at the actors and stuff, like the actor that's playing Jordan, to me feels more like John from the comic compared to the actor playing John, who ironically name is Jordan.
Right. that has to be interesting on set. Just at some point he just kind of breaks character, or somebody says Jordan and he just responds to it as opposed to
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of what we get here.
Well, we got 1 year ago Crisis, and John was just born.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And
how
at the
how
end
much farther does this take place after Crisis, plus what changed because of Crisis?
Well, I mean, listen to the end of Crisis. It says your twin son. So,
Yeah.
and I have to go back because to me, right there, just saying that they're up to something, to me means that they've been aged. Like the time has been compressed.
So are we blaming Bendis too for the aging up of John and
Heck yeah.
the show?
Look, that's what they do in the comics. We're going to do here. That's what I said. They pulled a Bendis.
Yeah.
So I feel like that they just use Crisis to age up. Like that's, and I'm like okay with that because that's part of the chance.
Well,
to
I
age.
mean, right, absolutely. Well, you got to think about it too. If you think about the timeline just before Crisis, I mean, he was Superman when she arrived at 13. She was at least 23, 25 when she came out as Supergirl. So for 10 to 12 years or so, he had been Superman. Lois and him had been together at some point for a long time. I mean, so finally by that time, and that's quite a long time for him to be Superman, Lois and Clark, I mean, for them to get together and, to have children and stuff. So you kind of retooled it back a little bit. He was already Superman, so maybe they got married, back just before she became Supergirl instead.
Yeah.
And had children.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it's part of the universe retelling us some of the story of what's happened with Christ.
What's different in this world now than it was when he showed up on Superman?
Because after the Crisis,
yeah, I think that gives us a good way to make this show its own thing outside of what they were on Supergirl and the crossovers.
I mean, visually it's already done. You know what I'm saying? Visually
Absolutely.
It's already hit us hard. I mean, even for just using this new farm, and I mean, also if we take a step back, no spinoff from the Arrow or Arrowverse show, okay, has ever started their own show with a smooth transition. And what I mean by that is, you go back, look at the episode of The Flash, when Barry's introduced, those 2 episodes, and then you match those up with the pilot of The Flash, it doesn't perfectly line up. There's some difference in it.
It'd be interesting to go back and
it's been a while since I did
figure
it.
those out.
It's been a while since I did. Like, I did a...
Because I know they had it close. I know they had it fairly close in like real time, like when he was struck by lightning in Arrow to the time the pilot started, how much time he was in a coma and stuff.
I mean,
I remember that. I thought that was really
They did. But it's just like, go back and watch the episode of Arrow and watch the pilot of The Flash. There's things where you're like, oh, okay. And I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's like something about him coming back and, like going to his office prepared to like prepare for return. And then, I mean, look at that one. We have the Elseworlds that was produced and her show picked up, and it's so awkward. Like, when did this happen? They referenced it, the crossover, but you're like, when did that take place during the course? So,
yeah. In the 8 or 9 episodes we got before Crisis, in the first season of your series, when did the other Elseworlds happen?
Exactly. So I mean,
like her first 8 episodes took place over a year and a half.
yeah, exactly. That's what it should have been, but I've been thinking about that enough. So, if there's a little rockiness at the start of this, that's how shows work. The only one that had smooth-ish, but I watched it a long time. Even then, they had like the legend stuff. Anyways, I feel, okay, let's back. We see that basically it looks like Lois Clark. And my prediction on this is Morgan Edge buys Daily Planet Fire. Because we know Morgan Edge is supposed to appear. There's been
And we know him
comics,
more recently in comics. Yeah, he was the head of GBS and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, probably having feeling him past. Want to get rid of him. Because how else? I mean, even if you're downsized, like, don't get rid of your best reporter.
No.
So
yeah, I figure it's probably an acquisition of Daily Planet or something. Yeah.
So that go back. It looks like Tom Pollard both out.
Yeah, parents gone too soon. The interesting thing, though, is the 2 teenage sons with extreme or severe anxiety.
I'm said all along. I hope
Or almost Superman 78. I mean, the shot of this driveway up to the house and the barn, it's little reminiscent of Superman 78.
right.
Man, when I wouldn't give to have that little stretch of land right there. Nice farmhouse and a barn.
So, as a quick side note, we would visit, he lives really out, all like old highway out, and his family there by, and they have farm as out, and I like it's not far. We live out, but we live like far.
Right.
It's all around.
Yeah. 45 minutes away from everything.
Not that. But I really, it has honor and got all of, like we already talked about, like the manifesto aesthetic, a little bit of Lois Clark, and I feel like Tyler himself reminds me more of like.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I feel that Dean Cain's Superman, his Clark Kent attitude, or his Clark Kent, the way he's himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's not putting on so much of a personality. He's just himself as Clark Kent. I like that better than, him playing a bumbling type guy.
I feel like
I prefer that. The reason being is because then, like, at all times, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's playing at all times. He's either playing a bumbling dude or Superman. Like he never just gets to be.
Yeah, I feel like George, Dean, Tyler. fall into a category. And kind of Henry, but I feel like Henry never really got. He didn't get enough time for us.
No.
And like
all we got was mainly Clark.
His Clark thing
dealing with the problems of knowing he's an alien, but not knowing where he came from, and only what he things he can do, but still feeling like so much of an outsider. And then we only got family. We only got Lois. We didn't get to see him at the Daily Planet.
Right.
We didn't get to see him around people.
Right.
And then in Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition, you get some of it, but especially the theatrical, they cut all of his Clark Kent stuff out.
Right. And like his Clark Kent mostly is Lois and Perry, and then the little bit of
except for his Batman missions.
Yeah, I would say the people he goes after when he goes to investigate about Batman. But even then, like, he doesn't have to play it up. And even Superman, his Superman even doesn't interact like one-on-one with a lot of. So he kind of like is in that category, but kind of like on his own. But
right. Well, I like it when he gets to be himself. He gets to be Clark. He grew up as a person. You know what I mean? He grew up as a person. He gets to be Clark. That's his life. When he gets to be Superman, he gets to be this larger than life, and he gets to be himself, but he gets to be himself, being able to do what he can do and uphold the standards and the ethics and morality that he believes in. And it just, gets to elevate himself to another level.
Which is this series, we talked about before, like Lex Luthor, the John Cryer Lex, is if you look at the timeline of Lex's story, this is the farthest on that time Lex ever. And in the same regard, on Superman time, this is the farthest.
Which is about time, saying 80 years in the future, 83 years in the future.
We really didn't have to do an origin. We didn't have to start getting. We were able to get far in his life. That's what we needed. A character that we're all pretty, like, you're born, you already know it. It's like, just come eight.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to say, by this time, it's genetic memory. Everybody knows the story of Superman.
So, in the trailer, about 22 seconds, we have General Sam talking to Clark about children. Simple, late. And I wonder if General Lane knows, if we're at a point where Lane, Clark. No.
Right. The very interesting thing that's coming up next is it looks like there's a case of probable kryptonite.
Yes.
And then somebody in an armored suit standing over it. We get no hints of villains or anything in this.
Whatever that armored suit.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't get any hints of any villains or anything in this trailer. We see a little bit of kryptonite, we see that armored suit, we see a quick little snippet later on, looks like somebody's flying at him, hitting him or something. So we don't know what's going on here, but it's all Clark's life.
It's all pretty much from Clark. Lois.
Yeah, Lois is kind of narrating, and even the shots of her, she kind of looks like she's looking on. But then, Clark, he's interacting with Sam Lane, he's interacting with boys. Coming up, it's going to be interesting to talk about what their quick interaction is. He's interacting with Lana here. Yep. Obviously, something's going on here, and he has the line like, "Oh, sometimes I wish I could get drunk." And he delivers it so good.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just this trailer definitely has a step up from anything he's portrayed in Supergirl, except for his first episodes.
And we'll get to the one thing about this episode, like from a visual standpoint, I feel like we go back to the first year Tyler himself has a crowd, and always 5 o'clock, and it feels like first kind of like super fake, kind of the eyebrows up here. In this, it looks like it's Tyler, like here's what was fun is watching on like even though it's like a 5 o'clock dad rock. When you look at anything Tyler did, you always have 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And even in the next scene, where we have up close.
Got a square jaw. It helps to accentuate the jaw.
Yeah. Even this next shot, we have mine. And I just thought, but it's a little more. It's one of those things like, for like a 1 or 2 day, like the face, eyebrow, a little smaller. I'm like,
Yeah.
you see,
I mean, unless you play Lex Luthor and you got to shave your head every 5 days.
right? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. I don't know. I'm trying to other stuff. Okay. One line from Robert Pat. Good stuff. A different look. So it's kind of. It definitely feels like that. I feel like that's it's some almost new. Got that feel. It's got it. And then we.
Yeah.
Got it. It's still very. Cost a little around how it. A little.
Yeah, the suit looks like it's a little looser, and then I just saw another picture on social media of him on set in the suit, and like he's like waving to people, and the suit looks a lot looser. Looks like he's able to move in it. So I'm sure that he has at least a suit he can move in. Yeah. As well as a suit that looks like really good for him just to walk and stand in.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get into like that, like on the flag, talk about how there's a special top for how because it hold mask up, let it fall back, right? But mask they had for when it goes off,
right?
Like so
yeah, for movies and TV and stuff, like they have stunt suits and they have suits for specific things like that, like move mask and like specific suits for specific shots for what they're doing,
And it looks every. Then we get out. Looks like part of the farm. And then get talk about like and like
the dark-haired son
that's Jordan.
steps up. That's Jordan. Yep. Okay. Steps up like closer to him and says, "We've seen it. Like you're not Superman. We've seen him. Which is interesting, in the show, like they're just rolling with the idea that, he's made that separation and he's hidden that, from them. They don't even recognize that their own dad is Superman.
Lois? Clark. Feels like a first fight. Of Clark. Got it. Got it. Last line up. That arm.
Yeah, Superman's in like a warehouse or something.
Get a great five. So, like it's a lot, like a 55 second. Is kind of reminds me of the first trailer. Alex.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really nice to see them going into this, taking this show seriously.
Hey,
I mean, the DC CW started with Smallville, and for a lot of that show, it was serious. You know what I mean? Being what it was as a CW show, a WB show, with the teenage drama that permeated too much of the show, but.
I think that's what
Yeah, but it still had Superman stuff, and then obviously Tom Welling didn't wear the suit, and it ended when he became Superman. Like, now we got a show, finally, 10 years since Smallville's been off the air, getting a Superman show back on television, on the CW. And he's in it, and he's in the middle of his career. It's later in his career, and it's being taken seriously.
Yes.
The trailer has a very serious tone to it. I mean, we know that Lana is in. Lana's husband at least has some problems. She's having problems in her marriage with his attitude and whatever things. I mean, we'll see how that goes. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe he's alcoholic. Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't put it past if he got abusive or something. I don't know.
Is it bad that I just want to on part like pulls that like from Superman? Is it? I think issue 2, Superman Earth 1, where he grabbed the guy, his neighbor lies like where drops.
Right.
Like, is it bad that I want to think of like the guy when it on his part?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And the guy has no idea what happened. I don't think they would go in something as bad as like a love triangle thing.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think so.
I think that's on.
I would not put it past there being some like
flirting or some like Lana, like, loving Clark from a distance.
Now that,
But yeah, for being direct, like I would assume that at this point in Clark's life, him and Lana have kind of gotten over their thing for each other. They're friends, they love each other, but it's not that anymore. And Clark is married to Lois, and they have children. I don't see that love triangle being being a thing. If they do, it will severely impact the show, in my opinion.
I
They
agree.
do not need to do that.
I agree. That, if you want to do something for honest, like maybe what missed out on would have had stuff that I don't see Clark.
It's like back early on, like when Clark and Lois got together and they're in Metropolis. You know what I mean? Like Clark is friends with Cat Grant. They're not lovers. They're colleagues. They're friends. That's how they are. I expect Clark to have that same way because, without anything like red kryptonite or something, Clark wouldn't be chasing Lana,
Right.
In a love triangle sort of way.
And the other thing is, it's very red kryptonite. You also get back Lois are. So
Exactly.
It's not like you have to go the trying to hide. And that's gonna be really great. More of a full on with Lois. And so I mean this is gonna be one I'm gonna buy as reflect. And then I'll end up buying them. This is my shit. But I feel like this is, I've always said, Smallville was a big part of me, but Smallville came out when we were in high school. And kind of like it was that like, oh, and now I feel like Clark, like, I don't have teenage, but I have children. You have your kids are closer to being teenagers than mine are. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, very close. Both of my children are right on the cusp of puberty.
So like even you, like this is the Superman that speaks to you. So
Absolutely. It's crazy that Smallville spoke to us then when we were that age, because we were the same age as Clark, growing up watching Smallville, and now we're like the same age as Clark now in Superman and Lois.
Yeah, exactly. So like I feel like it's like much like I like Black Light, it really like being older, being a father, trying to be something worth time. I feel like this is going to take that same way. And so you trying to give the best dad you got extra like paid. So, and I mean, it's also kind of funny, like in a weird, ironic sense that this year we're getting the Snyder Cut and Superman and Lois, because when Tyler first appeared on Girls, it was the same year Best Drop, so it was another like double dose of Superman. So like we're kind of getting a double dose of Superman of, Superman and Lois, and then Snyder Cut. And the other thing is like Superman and Lois is supposed to only be like 30 episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm cool with that. Like, give me a strong, tighter story.
Absolutely.
Then stretch it out. Like, 'cause I feel like that.
I'm much more satisfied with a very strong, solid 13 hours, give or take, worth of content than 22 hours where 10 or 12 of it is filler and dramatic iron.
Yeah. I like cut out a lot of like stuff. Like, make this the show. Like, you know how each one of the CW shows talked about kind of for a little bit of different demographic. Make this the show for us, our demographic, a little bit older, generation. Like, this isn't like much, but it is. I'm like, this is like a show that everyone can watch, but at the same time, like, it's really
this is for the people who've been following Superman who are our age,
right. Who's in that time frame. Even
who
if
grew up with Dean and Tom and Henry and Brandon.
Yeah, this is like Superman kind of radio. So I have a lot of my thing is I like Tyler Dave, and we'll talk more about it. I feel like then they wanted to have him around, but didn't know how to write, kind of wrote him. Less than, what I'm saying? Like, kind of found ways to put him in the background, kind of made him there to help out little bits here. This is his time to come.
Absolutely. I was going to say something about the Snyder cut as well. We're finally getting Henry back as Superman, the way we should have seen him, coming back from the dead, and that's great, and I wanted to see more of Henry, but we're getting Tyler here. He's gotten to play this Clark before, but now he's getting to make it his own in his own show.
Yep.
He's going to get a certain amount of hours. He's going to get a certain amount of time playing the character. And we've discussed how the TV people, they get to play these characters a lot longer than they do in the movies. They really get to delve and expand into the character and the stories and everything. At this point, I'm already probably, everything's subjective. People will call it blasphemy, but I'm at this point, I'm prepared to come out of Justice League saying that Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League are my favorite trilogy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'm prepared for. Man of Steel and BVS are my top two favorite movies in the DCEU. We got Snyder Cut coming out, and Snyder's one of my favorite directors. So, we got that coming out this year, and then we've got this coming out, and I can't wait like 1 month to see this. And it just seems like that Superman in this, he looks like the Superman he's doing, being the Clark Kent Superman that we like, that we want to see. You know what I mean? He's taken seriously. He smiles. He's happy. He loves his family, but he's still, what he does weighs on him, and he takes it seriously. But I think by this point, he can handle it. He can handle the weight that he carries. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't, affect him from time to time. We see him a little sour or depressed or anything like that. But I think he comes out of it just fine on the other side.
And I'm excited about there. I'm wanting to Tyler bring now the series basically. He's one of those actors that first think like, okay, but then you're like, okay, kind of watch, okay. It's like not exactly who I would have picked. I'm like so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've talked about it too. Like, since his debut, they've written it, in my opinion, they wrote it wrong. Being that, like, they wrote him so that way he was weaker. They wrote him, in such a way where he was, pushed aside or pushed down to raise Supergirl and other characters up. Which I think the way it was written was wrong, because back in the 2000s, when Supergirl returned, when she came back with Jeff Loeb, when he wrote Superman, Batman, Supergirl, the story that Superman, Batman, Apocalypse was derived from. When she came back in that era, she was speculated and things like that she was more powerful than Superman. Like, give it her age or whatever, she metabolized yellow sunlight better. She was more powerful than Clark. She was more powerful than Superman. Obviously, like, attitude and things like that. Those types of things, attitude and maturity, like, would hold her back from being able to achieve what he could, except for in, like, specific bursts. But, I mean, like, they could have utilized that to elevate Supergirl, as opposed to, like, push down Superman to elevate Supergirl. Yeah. They should have just elevated her as opposed to pushing him down. So he got a short end of the stick the farther it went, him coming in, because they were writing it wrong, in my opinion. But I think with him being the central focus, that'll be different. He's not going to get that. We're not going to get that feeling of push down. I think he's going to be the Clark we saw in the first one, where he's strong and confident, and people look up to him like they did in the DEO when he first showed up.
Yeah, because they've tried to hint that, like, one of the greatest things, like, in Elseworlds, for Oliver and Perry, Oliver kind of like puff out his chest and everything. Like,
yeah, that was hilarious.
And like, everyone, there's a reverence for him, but then don't always. So I'm excited. I mean, we could keep going, but I'm ready.
Absolutely. I can't wait to discuss the pilot here in a month. Probably watch it 2 or 3 times before we hop on to discuss it.
Like, part of me wants to be like a right after, like, oh my God, it's finished. Okay, let's stop. I mean, if they really, really wanted something sweet, they could debut it on February 9th. So my birthday, because this year my birthday is Friday. So,
Well, the thing too is this show, when it's over, will go to HBO Max. This show is way out from the Netflix deal.
Yep.
Just like Batwoman, like Stargirl, like that other Riverdale spinoff or something like that.
Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
That's not the spinoff. That was another CW show that.
Yeah, they're going over to HBO Max. They're not. This isn't going to be a Netflix show.
I think that'll be. I want this to be like show or something like kind of where like proud of, and be like, hey mom, watch.
Definitely, yeah. I watched Lois and Clark with my mom growing up. We watched Smallville quite a bit.
Yeah, we watched like the first season of Smallville with my mom, and after that, the CW drama type of it. Check it.
Right. Well, so there was quite a while where we didn't have cable. I bought movies, my mom bought movies. We didn't have cable. And so we watched what we could when we had cable, and then it was off. And then, like, I remember specifically season 5, me and my mom, we went to my aunt and uncle's house. My uncle was a big fan, and we went to my aunt and uncle's house every Thursday for season 5. And we were watching Smallville with them. So, my mom was watching the show. My mom was into the show. She didn't I don't think she saw the whole thing because, I was done moved out by the time the show ended. But yeah, she watched it. We watched Smallville together. So I'm definitely going to say, hey, Ma, you got to check this out. Like, just something we've always shared over the years.
Look up in the sky.